They laughed when a starving homeless girl whispered, "Can I play for food?" To them, she was nothing, dirty, ragged, invisible. But when her hands touched the piano keys, their laughter turned to tears. What they didn't know, she was a prodigy. Emma had not always been homeless. Once, she lived in a small house where laughter and music filled the air. Her mother played the piano every night, and Emma would sit beside her, mesmerized by the dance of fingers on ivory keys. But when sickness took her mother, the house grew silent. Her father, broken by grief, abandoned her. By the time Emma was 10, the streets were her only home. The world saw only a ragged child with dirty hands. No one knew that inside her lived the memory of every lullaby her mother once played. Every day Emma begged outside restaurants, her voice drowned by city noise. Some threw coins, some mocked, most ignored. But she carried a secret. Whenever she passed a music shop, she pressed her ear to the glass, memorizing melodies. Sometimes, late at night, she snuck into church halls, running her hands across dusty pianos, teaching herself in silence. To others she was homeless, but in her heart she was a musician. One freezing evening, Emma's hunger grew unbearable. Her stomach twisted in pain. She wandered into a restaurant, where a grand piano sat gleaming in the corner. Gathering courage, she whispered to the waiter, "Please, can I play for food?" The room erupted in laughter. "She's too filthy to touch that piano," a woman jeered. "Maybe she'll break it with those hands," a man smirked. Emma's face burned, but she stood tall. The owner, curious, waved her forward. "Fine, play, but don't waste our time." Emma sat down, her thin frame trembling. Her hands hovered over the keys. She closed her eyes and thought of her mother's smile. Then she played. The first note rang out, pure and haunting. Then another. Then another. Soon, her fingers flew, weaving sorrow and hope into every chord. The mocking smiles vanished. Tears welled up in strangers' eyes. The restaurant fell silent, not from pity, but awe. The girl they mocked was no beggar. She was a prodigy. When the final note faded, silence lingered. Then thunderous applause filled the hall. Strangers clapped, some cried, some begged for more. Emma stood slowly, bowing her head. "Thank you, but may I have some food now?" The crowd froze, realizing she hadn't played for fame, or money, or applause. She had played simply to eat. That night, the owner brought her a meal fit for royalty. Yet while others saw entertainment, Emma still saw survival. Unbeknownst to all, at the back of the restaurant sat a man in a dark suit. Mr. Callahan, a world-renowned music producer. He approached her table, eyes wide with disbelief. "Child, where did you learn to play like that?" Emma's answer was simple. "My mother taught me until she was gone. The rest I learned on my own." Callahan's hands trembled. He had trained prodigies before, but never had he heard music played with such raw soul. Skeptical still, Callahan invited Emma to his studio the next day. Some thought it was charity. Others thought he'd quickly dismiss her. But when Emma sat at the grand piano, she played not just notes. She played storms, heartbreak, and dreams. The staff froze. Engineers dropped their headphones. Callahan whispered, "This isn't talent. This is destiny." Weeks turned to months. Emma received lessons, food, and shelter. Yet she never lost her humility. She still returned to the restaurant, thanking the owner for letting her play that first night. Soon, News spread of the homeless girl who played like an angel. Concert halls called. Orchestras begged. Audiences wept. But Emma never played for applause. She played for the mother she lost, for the child she once was, for the hunger that once nearly consumed her. Chapter 9, Full Circle. Years later, Emma returned to the same restaurant, not as a beggar, but as the guest of honor. A plaque stood by the piano. Here played Emma Gray, the girl who turned hunger into music. That night she played once more, the same song she had played as a starving child. And once again, tears filled the room. Only this time she didn't ask for food. She gave it. She donated every cent of her earnings to feed homeless children, so no child would ever have to play for a meal again. They laughed at her hunger until her music made them weep. Because greatness doesn't always wear fine clothes. Sometimes it hides in rags, waiting for one chance. Never underestimate the forgotten, because the world's most powerful voices often rise from silence.